Hi, this is my Reflect and Connect number 2 for secondary string methods. So it makes me really sad to read about the decline in interest in orchestras in schools at the end of the 1930s and 1970s. Um, and it makes me think about how when I was in school, there was definitely a stigma that like band was cooler than orchestra, but I didn't realize how deep that stigma went. Um, Even with that stigma, though, my high school had a very large orchestra program with probably over 100 students. We had 2 orchestras that were full of, you know what, it's probably closer to like 150, 200 students. I'm not exactly sure. Um, yeah, on page 163, Hammond and Gillespie talk about how school orchestra programs benefit band students as well. And they talk about how it gives them opportunities to play in keys like A major, which is a rare key for them to play in their band repertoire. And it makes me think about all of the private violin students that I've had and how all of them, every single one of them, can really only comfortably play in the key of D major. Um, and which was something that I wasn't really expecting going into like teaching private lessons, but that's definitely been something that I've had to hurdle. I'm currently teaching Vivaldi concerto in A minor with my one student who is in high school, and they've been doing very, very well. So another thing that I thought was really interesting was developing community support. In my experience, we would play at local fire halls. We would play for conferences. We would play like Christmas quartets at boutiques and restaurants during holiday season. But I think the biggest thing with community outreach was social media. We had a social media page dedicated to our orchestra program, dedicated to our choir program, dedicated to our band program, marching band, show choir, like all of the big groups at my high school had a social media platform for that group. And I think that is probably one of I think that was probably one of the most beneficial things that we have now, or is one of the most beneficial things that we have now, and something that I definitely plan to use to my benefit in my teaching. We also had orchestra officers, which was something that was really common in all of the ensembles in my high school. So we would have a president, vice president, secretary, and treasurer. And this, I could never really tell being in high school whether this was just to help the teacher or whether it was more of an opportunity for the students to gain some sort of leadership. Looking back, I definitely view it as a form of leadership. They would do things like taking attendance, handling fundraisers, handling community outreach things, planning, like helping to plan trips and schedule like performances and stuff like that. Definitely something that I also plan to do in my orchestra. I think that it is a great opportunity for student leadership within the ensemble. Something else that I found really interesting was how Hammond and Gillespie talked about chamber music and fiddle music, and chamber music, fiddle music, and mariachi bands. I never had the opportunity to play in a mariachi band. I really wish that I did. We did get the opportunity to play some fiddle music, but the group that I did was called Swingin' Strings, which I named. And we mostly played jazz music, and it was a really, really great opportunity for us to be able to play music that wasn't our regular orchestra repertoire. We also did some things with like improvisation. I think that having a wide variety of genres, like a huge variety of genres within your school orchestra is definitely super, super important. playing the same type of music over and over again is just going to bore your students, and it definitely serves as a way to keep your students engaged and interested, and also keep the audiences interested and the community interested in your orchestra if you're playing music that is interesting. So yeah, that's my reflect and connect.